Kaushal Patel, luxury realtor in America's finest city. Your dream home in paradise is waiting. Buying your piece of paradise with Kaushal. Presented on IQ Podcast at Attorney King Studios. Sponsored by Oscar Gastelum, president of Mortgage Hub Incorporated. MortgageHub.loans. Now, Kaushal Patel.
Having a great day, fantastic week. Welcome to my podcast. I'm Kaushal Patel with Windermere Homes and Estates, and my podcast is Buying Your Piece of Paradise in San Diego with Kaushal. And if you're selling, hey, I'm here to help you as well. But, today we're really talking about a serious topic. We're talking about something that has caused so much devastation in California, wildfires. They are the number one threat really to homeowners in the Golden State. According to CAL FIRE, just this year, just in 2021, and remember, the year's not even over, more than 7,000 fires that have burned more than 2 million acres. And at this time last year, those numbers were even more devastating, more than 8,000 fires and more than 3 million acres burned. Tough to really wrap your head around some of those numbers. Seth Aruda with Alta Vista Insurance is an expert when it comes to real estate property insurance with more than 12 years of experience in the industry. We also have another expert, president and owner of BFI Insurance Services, Heather Gastelum. She's also been an expert in this field for 12 years when it comes to insuring homes and commercial space for families and their businesses. Guys, thanks so much for, sharing your knowledge with folks who are listening to this great podcast. I want to start with, has it been a busy year and why has it been so busy for you guys?
It's been crazy. We've seen a hard market here in California, so it does make it challenging when you're an insurance agent or a property specialist like Heather and I are. We deal with a lot of clients all throughout California, but even down here in Southern California, the market has been in a hard market for a couple of years, but we're really starting to see the effects also with the impact of the real estate market getting very, very active. It's keeping us very busy. We have a lot of companies that are, deciding not to insure in certain areas all throughout California, even here in Southern California, in the San Diego area. We have insurance companies that have been going out of business. We have insurance companies that are taking, 15, 25, even 50% rate increases. And all of those different activities can really cause what we call a hard market, where it gets more challenging to place insurance in high fire areas.
And how do you keep your head above water when you're dealing with all these challenges, Heather?
One step at a time. We take on clients on a daily basis that are continuing to call us to shop their current policies, shop their packages out, their home insurance being non-renewed, which then sets their auto insurance into a position that increases about a 20% rate on the auto, and just rates increasing drastically. And like Seth mentioned, with the real estate market continuing to be so hot, we get so many new leads of new home insurance in rural areas. I mean, there's homes that aren't even that rural that are still considered high fire zones to the insurance companies. For any home that is, anywhere near a mountain area or close to wildfire or trees, they consider it a protection class of a 3 or above is ineligible. So it makes it really hard on us because obviously we want to take on the business. We want to help people, but
your arms, your hands are tied because there's only so much you can do, which your companies allow you to do.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, it is really tough to wrap your, just your head around those numbers that I mentioned at the top of the newscast. Back in the day, that was a little slip of podcast. We're talking about more than 5 million acres in just 2 years.
Yeah.
And the year isn't even over. So that could, it's just devastating listening to those, or just trying to wrap your head around those numbers. Now, how much, what percentage of homes in San Diego are in a high fire zone? If there was an estimation that you guys had to give us.
Actually, I did some research on this, and I looked at some of the maps that we use that show some special hazard interface areas. And obviously, when you get an NHD report, it can kind of show you some of the information there that tells you whether the property's in a special hazard interface area or a high fire area. It even shows you the flood zones. So I always recommend to agents, take a look at that report when you're, working with your clients, because it's going to really give you a clearer picture as to what you can do for the insurance protection on that property, or the insurability, like I say. But actually 1 million homes just here in San Diego County are in a special hazard, or not necessarily special, but a high fire area. And that impacts around 88% of our population. And I think they said that 78,000 homes are in what we consider, like Heather said, a very high fire area that is above a protection class 3 or 4. So it impacts a lot of people here in San Diego. When you look at a map, I mean, actually, if we had visuals, for the people that are listening to this, but if you looked at San Diego as on a map, the majority of that county is in a high fire area. There's some pockets around San Diego, the city, and, down by, the bay that are not in a high fire area, but the majority of the eastern part of the county and all throughout the northern part of San Diego is in a high fire area.
Wildfire. Yeah. Especially zip codes, Hamul, El Cajon, Alpine, Fallbrook. We're even coming into Encinitas that I'm running into issues being able to find. Rancho Santa Fe, Del Mar, it's fine, close enough to the beach. But, you deal with homes in La Jolla, specific homes that are located close to a mountain area, not eligible. So it gets definitely challenging, especially if your house is a high value home where the replacement cost is anywhere $1 million or above. A lot of times these carriers have put up restrictions to being able to take them on. But working with brokers like Seth and myself, who have options of all the different companies within our wheelhouse to be able to shop out the policies for our clients, does give the client hope and allows us to really provide them the best company coverage and premium that we can provide them.
And of course, your expertise, because, you guys have heard it, seen it, done it before. Maybe you guys can think outside the box. But those numbers, Seth, 88%, that is just staggering. And I know that when you mentioned, Heather, if your home is a 3 or higher, what happens to those folks? Who insures those homes?
Well, if they've been with their insurance carrier for many years, most of the time the insurance companies are still continuing coverage, but they will take a rate increase. And it doesn't make sense, even though that you get a rate increase on your home insurance, it's a good idea to call us to see if we can do anything, but most likely shopping it out and moving the insurance doesn't make any sense. Because when you're moving it in today's market, they're looking at that home insurance as brand new home insurance and their acceptability in today's market. So even though you might see a rate increase, it still does not make any sense to move that home insurance.
Yeah. And is there something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah,
Seth?
I just wanted to segue on that. That's really good advice. Obviously we want to be a personal risk manager, but when you're looking at somebody's property insurance in California, if you did take a rate increase, a lot of times, the insurance companies are trying to charge the right rate and calculate how much insurance they need to charge for the amount of claims they're paying out. And in the last 3 years, we've seen the fires just get worse and worse here in California. I think the Dixie Fire right now has already burned almost 1 million acres. It's become the largest fire in California's history, but that has been the case every single year leading up from 2018 all the way to 2021. So I'm recommending my clients, if you have a preferred insurance company that is a strong, stable company, and they're willing to renew your policy, even if it has taken a little bit of a rate increase, it's always good to verify that you're getting the best rate. But I'm recommending you stay with that insurance provider, because trying to switch insurance companies now in a market like this, it's very, very hard, very challenged. You may not find that there are a lot of insurance companies that are willing to insure in your home's area, or you're looking at, an insurance premium that could be 25, 30, 40, even sometimes 50%. There have been some companies this year that have taken 50% rate increases in certain areas because they are considered now high fire areas, and they need to, like what Heather says, surcharge those policies to, collect more premium dollars.
And I love that advice, because you're basically telling people, hey, stay with who you're with. Don't try to come to us. I mean, that would mean more business for you, but you're giving them sound advice. So hopefully people will heed the warnings. There's a new real estate disclosure out there, guys, and I'm sure you're well aware of it. And it's required by the California Association of Realtors. It's a new disclosure when someone sells a home which is in a high fire zone. So can you kind of walk us through what that entails, that inspection entails? Is it easy? How easy is it to get it done?
Sure. Yeah, I can jump in on this. I actually was in a couple of meetings with actually your broker of record. We talked about this, and they have talked about some of the challenges with that form and having it completed in a proper manner. I have heard that, some of the fire stations are getting a little bit more with the program. So it really comes down to the area that your home is in. You can reach out to that fire station that's near you to have them help you and assist with completing that form. It does sound like they're starting to have, standardized forms there at the fire station to help kind of mitigate some of this. But, hardening the home, and also, following that proper protocol is something that's also adding another layer to the real estate transaction. It can be very challenging. The thing I'm recommending is, even if the home is in what's considered a SHIA or a special hazard interface area, it doesn't mean, and Heather knows this, that doesn't mean that it's going to be acceptable from the insurance company's standpoint. You could be, free and clear and think that it's going to be, an easy, smooth transaction. And then you can also run into a property that's in an area that is considered, a high fire line score for the insurance companies. And that's where the transaction can start to get a little challenging for your client. They may not feel comfortable, moving forward with the sale because they can't find an insurance provider early. So my advice is that the minute you get that NHD report, take a look at it, really take the time to look and see what's in there, identify what type of fire area it's in. If it is in a special hazard interface area, you want to start that sequencing of the insurance earlier in your transaction. Reach out to an insurance agent that's, an independent agent or a broker that has options that they can look at for you. Shop everything out with multiple insurance carriers. Also, sometimes brokers like us have access to specialty markets, especially if it's a high value home, or if it's a property like she's saying in like Hamul or outer areas that are above a protection class 3 or 4. That's kind of the best advice I can give, not only clients right now, but also real estate agents, to help them smooth those transactions, and also just give their client peace of mind that they know that they're looking out for them and they're providing them with professionals and experts that can help them through their transaction.
It's a huge value add. And I've always encouraged real estate agents that I partner with to make sure to advise their client about insurance early in the transaction, because it allows us to get ahead of the game, especially with the hardened market like we've been talking about. It allows us to get ahead of the game for the client to really put together the best option for them. And when you are in one of these areas like Hamul or those outer areas, we haven't gotten to this yet, but there really is no other option for the client, most likely, than doing the California FAIR Plan with the wraparound policy, which provides coverage. FAIR Plan provides fire insurance and vandalism only, to where the wraparound would cover all other perils. So the two policies together equates to one normal insurance policy for the client. Usually that is our last resort that we ever would go to. We shop out the market with all of our admitted carriers first to determine if there is a single company that can offer the client all perils under that one company versus going to the California FAIR Plan. But that is usually the last resort that we have been ending up with.
So that is the only option. Are there any other special options that buyers can take advantage of if a home is in an area that's like you said, you're finding some homes in Encinitas. When you think of Encinitas, you don't, like Leucadia, Solana Beach, you don't think of those areas as high fire.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are other companies out there that I've been seeing come through, like Pacific Specialty. I've been seeing Travelers come through in certain circumstances. I don't partner with State Farm, but State Farm has been an option and a resource recently. I do know also Farmers Insurance has loosened up their guidelines for firebrush. Sometimes that might be an option. So even though Seth and I might not write with those captive markets, it still is a good option for clients to be able to approach those companies as well.
Yeah, I would just to segue on that. I mean, it's really important right now to make sure you're with a preferred insurance company. Like she mentioned, the California FAIR Plan is the state-funded insurance program that is taking on the fire insurance risk here in California. So when you have somebody like State Farm or Farmers that is willing to offer a full comprehensive policy, you should move forward with that option, because really in the guidelines that the California FAIR Plan has, it's really only supposed to be used as an option of last resort. If there is no insurance companies that are willing to take on that risk, then the option of the California FAIR Plan can be, initiated. But, talk to a broker that, can look at multiple insurance companies for you first. And then if it is a situation where you need to go to a captive, I know that State Farm is starting to maybe loosen up on some of these areas, but it makes it challenging even there, because when you are insuring in a high fire area, this is all about risk. So when, State Farm opens up the window to allow homes in a certain area that are considered high fire, that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And they could be, deciding to non-renew a lot of those homes next year or in 2 years. And then the insured is back in the same place that they were. And State Farm, because they are a captive or farmers, they only have certain products that they can offer, which is nice that brokers have, the ability to offer multiple products and provide a solution in the form of, the right insurance product to protect the property or protect your lifestyle.
Right. And when you talk about the FAIR plan, do they have a cap? So do they have a cap of a certain amount? And that's kind of the scary part, because if you have a home that exceeds that, what happens to the rest of that?
Great question.
Yeah, aren't they going up to I think they're only going up to 3 million max right now.
3 million total accumulated coverage within all of their limits. So with the California FAIR plan, if you have a house that is over 1.5 million base replacement cost, most likely you're not going to qualify to be able to get a difference in condition plan, because most companies, they do require that you hold 50% of that 1.5 million for personal property as well. So those two coverages alone equate to over, 2.5 million. And then if you need other structures, you need loss of use, suddenly you're over 3 million, and then carriers won't take it any longer. So other resorts that we've been finding for houses that are in, the really high-end homes like Rancho Santa Fe that have replacement costs of 2 million and above, we go to Scottsdale Insurance or a non-admitted market. Those carriers are very pricier than what we've seen anybody else on the market. But ultimately, when you get into those places, you want to make sure that you have accurate coverage for your house. And it's up to you as the client, if you're connected to a loan that requires you to hold home insurance, to purchase something like that and just bite the bullet for the next couple of years, hoping that the market turns around. Otherwise, you can choose to self-insure and not purchase insurance if you don't have a loan connected to it, but that's a huge risk.
Yeah, you can say that. And there are how many homes in San Diego that are above that threshold?
A lot.
Especially in like the lakes and the bridges and some of the areas that may fall under that, fire zone, correct?
Right.
We're talking about the Rancho Santa Fe, the Covenant,
Yeah. Even homes in Carlsbad now. Look at the market value that's, on homes that has appreciated in the last few years. Properties even in Carlsbad are well above a replacement cost of 1.5 million. If you have a home that's in a lot of the areas that have been built prior to, or, past, 2003, most of those larger homes in those neighborhoods are much more expensive, and they're going to be much more expensive to replace in the future. The cost of materials, the cost of building has gone up. Everything's gone up. It's much more expensive to rebuild a home today than it was even just a few years ago. So we're looking at even just areas like Encinitas, Carlsbad, North County, Fallbrook, some of these areas where you would just think, oh, well, that's, a larger home. It's costing a lot more to rebuild homes nowadays. So a lot of homes in San Diego well exceed that $1.5 million threshold.
Yep, oh, definitely all day long. When you're selecting fire insurance, what are some things to keep in mind? Let's say somebody's shopping for fire insurance. What are some things they want to for sure know and arm themselves with?
I would definitely say making sure that we have the house insured to replacement costs based on the accurate features of their house, going through a replacement cost estimator, and making sure that we have the correct dwelling amount coverage for their house. Another thing that's very important with home insurance is having extended replacement costs built into their home insurance policy. I typically don't like to sell home insurance without making sure that they have that extended amount, because God forbid there does be a total loss to a house. If you have an estimated number for your dwelling amount, that is what the estimated replacement cost estimate says. Having that extended amount gives client that peace of mind, knowing that if that wasn't enough coverage, that they would have another limit to dip into to assure that their house is going to be rebuilt back to its normal condition.
I think most lenders are starting to require that. When we see, transactions where, a client is using a lender to purchase a home, they're now requesting that the property be insured up to, either guaranteed replacement cost or have that additional replacement cost coverage. But it is important, be insured to value. That's the number one thing that you want to make sure when you're purchasing a home anywhere. How much is it going to cost to rebuild my home to its original state if I have a loss? And that's all based on the reconstruction cost of the property. And yes, just in the last year, we've seen building materials go up, lumber has gone up. All of that is going to affect the cost to rebuild in the future, even labor and transportation costs. So that's why it's important to have, a conversation with an insurance agent that specializes in property, making sure that they walk you through that entire process, look at the interior features, exterior features, size, square footage, kitchens, countertops, bathrooms, all of that affects how much it costs to rebuild the home. The other thing I would look at is, making sure you have a company, if you are in a high wildfire area or a property that backs up to brush and open space, there are some insurance companies that offer what we call wildfire defense services. So companies that are in the marketplace, just to name a few of them, Safeco, Chubb, and there's a bunch of others. I think USAA even offers this, but there's a lot of companies that are jumping on board that are utilizing their own third-party fire services to help mitigate fires in certain neighborhoods or areas where they have a lot of insureds in a specific zip code or territory. Some of those companies are automatically, admitted into that program. Others, like Chubb, you can just, sign up for them. So if you have a high value home and you're insured with Chubb, you can take advantage of that wildfire defense service. Some of them have their own third-party fire teams and trucks that come out to specific properties. And I've actually had one of these homes back in the 2013 when we had those fires in San Diego. I had a couple homes out east that were insured with Chubb. They sent out their own personal fire department teams and trucks to that property. They can mitigate the fires that are kind of burning around the home. Some of them have specific biodegradable polymer sealers that they can spray on the home that are fire retardant that can help mitigate the risk of fire. So that's another special program that some insurance companies have adopted. The other thing is, talking about like home hardening, when you talked about the form, making sure that the home is built to, proper characteristics that will help mitigate it from fire using, certain construction. Anything that's built 2008 or newer already has the best what we call, home hardening credits, because those homes were built with the construction to make sure that they were at the most mitigated from fire exposure. But, having, open eaves, making sure those eaves are, covered with a specific, non-combustible material, defensible space, I think, is another thing that we talk to a lot of our clients about, making sure that they have enough open, unmanaged vegetation that's cleared up to at least 100 feet. The different zones that you want to look at are, 0 to 5 feet from your home, 30 feet from your home, and then 100 feet from your home. And there's a lot of great programs that people can take advantage of. I recommend a lot of clients to go to CAL FIRE's website.
Yeah, I was just going to say CAL FIRE always, every day they update, everybody, like there's 15 major fires going on, and it'll tell you, the acreage burned. And so I think that's a great resource, and you can always look at the map, and then they have their resources there as
Ready,
well.
Set, Go is a program they really, really are pushing, where it gives people a lot of this information I'm talking about. They can watch videos, educate themselves. There's also evacuation plans in there. They have a lot of really nice infographics where you can learn about how to create defensible space, setting up a go plan, an emergency bag. All of that kind of stuff is really important when you're looking at trying to reduce your exposure to wildfire.
And when we talk about like the premiums, what are we talking about when insuring homes, depending on different areas? So can you give us price examples for, obviously downtown is going to be the cheapest, I'm going to say,
I mean, it is solely dependent on the specific property's location. It is hard to say. It is also dependent on how large of a property that we're insuring. You can, for example, let's talk about Hamul. If we're looking at California Fair Play.
Well, how about we do something in Carlsbad? So let's just do something in Carlsbad. Okay, so Carlsbad, and you think of another, let's say like Kensington, or even, Rancho Santa Fe. Like, what would be the insurance premiums for a, $3 million house?
Okay, so The market value has nothing to do with insurance. So it
Okay.
completely depends on how large of a house that we're insuring. Let's say it's a 3,000 square foot house. If it has really nice features, we want to insure it for around $350 to $400 a square foot.
Okay.
So let's just say it's like a $1.2 million or $1.3 million house that we're insuring in Carlsbad. If it is backed up to fire and it's ineligible with any admitted market, we're looking at premiums with the California FAIR Plan. I would guesstimate anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000.
That's a good estimation. Yeah.
And then the difference in condition, I would say $1,000 to $2,000.
Yep.
So ultimately, on the high end, you're looking at around a $9,000 premium for a house that's ineligible with all other markets. If it is eligible for a $3,000 house, 3,000 square foot house, I would say it would be, what do you think? 25,
Yeah.
3,000 a year.
Yeah, I've seen rates anywhere between, around $2,000 if it's not in, a high fire area and it's just a larger home. And you'd say the replacement cost is around $1 million to $1.5 million. Sometimes, you're looking at anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 for your insurance costs.
So it makes a dramatic difference.
It does. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like agents are sharing that information, when they're showing? So we have a lot of people who are moving here from Seattle and other areas, on either, both coasts, and they may not, understand the costs of, wildfires and what that does to. Do you feel like it is being explained?
From the real estate agent's point of view, I don't think that they are, that's not really their specialty. Their specialty is to be your real estate agent,
just to get your offer accepted.
Be your negotiator. Exactly.
Right,
and they have enough to deal with that. They're constantly dealing with, all of the things that you need to know as a real estate agent in your local market. That's why I always tell agents, lean on your professionals, have a team around you, a specific lender you work with, an escrow rep you work with, a title rep that can really be those other centers of influence for you and kind of provide your client with the services that they need, because those are the subject matter experts along with your insurance agent. I'm constantly telling agents, surround yourself with professionals to help you close your transaction smoothly and make sure your clients have the right information so they can make educated decisions about their real estate purchase. The best real estate agents I know don't seem to think that they know everything. They surround themselves with people that are professionals and specialists in their specific areas to get the job done and give their clients peace of mind to know that they have the right people around them to help them through a transaction smoothly and to guide them through that process. I mean, we're all problem solvers. We're all trying to solve a problem for our clients and our customers. But what we want to do is also have those subject matter experts in specific areas to really help when they need to in order to provide the right services to help our clients.
Okay, last question, guys. If you can wave, and both of you guys, so whoever wants to go first and then the other person can answer. If you can wave a magic wand and you can change, it when we're talking about your industry, what changes would you want to see?
I think I would want, if it is possible, something within our government to regulate our fire departments to mitigate the wildfire zones and consistently keep our wildfire brush going down in California. Granted, we're in a very hot season right now and we're going into wildfire season. But if there were to be any changes that we can make moving forward, I think it should be a regulation because it's really becoming a big problem in our state for insureds and for insurance companies as well. And I don't know any other party at B that can make that change than having some sort of regulation put into place.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, the Department of Insurance also can work with our legislatures to try to do things here in the state of California to mitigate the exposure to high wildfire. We do a pretty good job down here in Southern California. Northern California is a little bit different. There's a lot of things that the Department of Forestry and the state does to try to clear the brush in a lot of areas. We do probably a better job of that down here in Southern California, but I don't think we're doing enough. And the fires are not going to get better. Everybody that I've been, listening to is saying that they didn't anticipate these type of high wildfires until about 2030. Well, now it's 2021 and we're seeing these super fires like the Dixie Fire, the Paradise Fire just a few years ago. That happened in November. Fire season is not over, and fire chiefs and people that are in the fire departments are telling people this is not the time to let your guard down. I would also like to see, also from an insurance company's perspective, the insurance companies also need to be able to charge the proper rate for the risk. And this is why we've become or come into this hard market, because there is so much regulation here in California. The Department of Insurance really doesn't allow the insurance companies to look at the profitability of where they are and making sure that they're charging the right premium. And when they can't charge the right premium, they end up closing zip codes or non-renewing hundreds and thousands of customers. AAA just did this a few years ago where, thousands, I think 1% of all of their policies in California were non-renewed. So you create an environment where the insurance companies can't charge the proper rate for the risk. They end up either having to go insolvent or, decide that they can't insure in certain areas. And the less options a client or a customer has in a specific area makes it, more difficult to find insurance, or they end up having to become insured with the California Fair Plan. And I used to insure in Florida, where we have a lot of risk of catastrophic hurricanes. The issue there is that their state-funded insurance program has become the largest insurer in the state. And we really don't want that to happen in California. You don't want the state having to become the largest insurer of property or fire insurance, because if we have a major wildfire or a huge catastrophic loss in a highly densely populated area like Southern California, the insurance marketplace is really going to be upside down. So, petition your legislatures, reach out, especially real estate agents. You guys are having a lot of challenges too with, these home hardening disclosures and all this. It's really important to, bring that stuff to, Sacramento to try to see if there's anything that can be done to regulate some of these things, because I haven't seen in the last 3 years, the fire season's getting any better. It seems that we keep having, the largest fire in history year after year.
Yes. And it's not getting any better at all. So I think that is very good advice.
Yeah, thank you guys for both coming in and sharing your insight with our listeners. And hopefully it was it gave us some knowledge. And of course, talking about Heather Gastelum from BFI and Seth Aruda from Alta Vista Insurance. Of course, I can help put you in touch with either one of them. And remember, if you're looking to buy or sell, I have a whole team of resources who would love to help you. You can always give us a call at 858-244-3298. Again, 858-244-3298. Again, this podcast is called Buying Your Piece of Paradise. And I really still think that San Diego, despite, we do have obviously wildfires being one of the, threats here, it is still paradise, and we are very blessed to live here. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.